Hello.
Mr. Piles.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. Just making sure my microphone sounds all right. Doing all right there?
Yeah. Yeah. How about
Sweet.
mine?
Yeah.
That's what I'm glad.
So it's definitely time for a mailbag episode. But before we get to that, I just want to make sure everybody knows about the new apps that we have.
Yes. You've done a great job with this, Rob.
Well, thank you very much. We have a new iPhone app for the Traders Podcast. If you have an iPhone, you can download, and I'll show it on the screen here for those of you that go to traderspodcast.com and watch the YouTube version. But there is an app, and you'll get all of the episodes of the podcast as they come out, and you'll get access to our Facebook and Twitter feeds and YouTube channel. And, Jason, a contact button where they can call the voicemail line and leave a message right from their phone.
Nice.
And an email button so you can send an email to us. So you can go to the App Store and search for Traders Podcast, or you can go to the Google Play Store and you can search for Traders Podcast, no spaces between those words, and we'll put links to both of those App Store downloads on the Traders Podcast website.
I love it, Rob. That's really cool. I'm just genuinely impressed that you knew how to do all that stuff.
I don't know how to do all that stuff. There's a website called como.com where I built that app, and it's not the most sophisticated thing in the world, but I have to say, I even like having all of those podcasts easier to reach than ever before, and it's a great way for somebody to stay in touch with us. And today we're doing a mailbag episode where we get to answer questions from the listeners, and I think this would help everybody even send us more questions than ever before.
I totally agree, and we'd love it, and especially it'd be really fun to get voicemails from people too.
I
I'd like
agree.
To hear their
I
voices.
think that it's time, so we'd love to hear from you, and we've got to come up with a special gift that we can send to people who send us a voicemail. The best voicemail Gets a Euronaut shirt. Do you know what the Euronaut is, Jason?
I have no idea.
Well, we'll save that maybe for a picture on the website.
Okay, great.
It is maybe the greatest artwork ever done related to the currency market, and it's done by my friend Joe Baldoff, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Euronaut, nice.
The Euronaut.
All right, well, we got an email here from Jonathan, and I think you'll be excited about this one.
Hey, Jonathan.
He says, I just listened to a podcast where Rob wanted people who live in the Middle East, and I am an American and live in Oman, which is the beautiful country south of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So there you go, Rob. There's somebody right there.
No kidding.
Jonathan's there. So
Jonathan?
Are you going there?
What's that?
Are you going to the Middle East soon or what?
Yeah, I'm going to go. My friend Namer, who is probably... He may be the best trifecta trader in the world. He and Chris Pulver are pretty amazing. And there's others too. I mean, there's a lot of people. But let's just say he's the one I know about. He lives in Qatar. Okay. And I think I'm going to go see him in September or October and do an interview.
Okay. That's awesome. So yeah, then Jonathan's in that neck of the woods, I guess.
Hey, Jonathan, I can't. I hope we can all get together. I think that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Okay, and here's an email from Ryan, and he wrote, Jason and Rob, I've been listening to the show for the last couple of weeks at work. I think you guys do a really great job, and I look forward to future episodes. I subscribe via RSS and listen as soon as they become available. I work as a software engineer in California and love the episodes you have done on automated trading. It has inspired me to write my own EAs. Keep up the good work, Ryan.
Well, if Ryan's going to write his own EA, I'd like to hear from Ryan in 2 weeks after he's done it and see if he still feels like having his own programming job. No, Ryan, I think it's a great idea. I think a lot of the success that people have in trading comes from doing something remarkable and daring that is personal and your own. And whether or not you succeed at building a robot or an EA that can trade on its own and make you money, you are certainly going to learn a ton more about how you really want to trade long term and what's going to be successful for you and where your system has its weakest points. So,
Yeah, and if he's a software engineer, then he's probably already got a good handle on things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he'll probably be just fine. In fact, Ryan, we do want to hear from you as you build that. In fact, Ryan, as you jump into that, we'd love to interview you on the podcast. Let us know if that's a possibility.
That's right. Love it. Okay. Now, a couple of these emails, it just started reminding me, there's a movie I saw once, Rob, that I actually think you'd really like. It's called Pontypool. Have you ever heard of that?
No, man, this is awesome. This is awesome. What are we talking? What is it called?
It's called Pontypool. It's just like it sounds. I guess that's the name of a town in Canada. Pontypool from 2008. And this is this is right up your alley, actually, Rob, because it's about a radio personality.
All right.
Like yourself. And when he's in the studio, a zombie apocalypse kind of begins, and you get reports coming in, and the whole film is pretty much set in the studio, and we just hear all the commotion outside. So it's not super gory as far as like horror films, because I know you're not into that. So
yeah.
But it's really neat, and it's kind of creative the way they've dealt with the zombie virus, so to speak. But anyway, sometimes like we get some comments, and it reminds me of Pontypool a little bit, and people would have to see the movie to kind of know what I mean. But it's hilarious. So anyway, I'd recommend that.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I want to watch Transcendence. I know it didn't get good reviews. I understand that. And I want to see Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Yes. Speaking of which, is Rise of the Planet of the Apes suitable for Isaac, my son? Or is it too much?
I don't know how. I mean, there are lots of apes getting blown up and shot and burned.
Probably avoid it. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Yeah. But okay. So anyway, everybody who listens to Traders Podcast, they know that half the entertainment value of this show comes from reading the comments written by Brian F. Right? I mean, he's got a lot of entertaining stuff.
Yeah, some people don't like them, but I gotta say, Brian is not only a good friend, but I gotta say, it's one of the most enjoyable things in my life is reading his comments, and they are a national treasure on this podcast, and they are always welcome, and they are long.
Yes, they are. So regarding his comments, FX Outlier asked, when are you boys going to interview Brian F., or have you done so already?
That's you know, Brian, do you want to come back on the podcast? I would love it. I want to say this. Brian is one of the most enjoyable people in the entire world. He is fantastic. And Brian, when you're ready, I'm ready again. We could do a Skype call and get you on the podcast. No video necessary if you want to avoid that. All right. I want to, I'll leave it at that. I love him to death.
And here's another Pontypool type. This reminded me of that too. This comes from Mark, and he says, hey guys, I have listened to a few podcasts and am planning to listen more. I'm an ex-futures broker with RJO and trade equities, futures, and options for a living. I like to get a chat in and discuss coming onto the podcast. I'm positive I can provide the most interesting conversation on trading, strategy, current events, and trader psychology. Much obliged, Mark.
Mark, you're on. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Yeah, Mark, if you want to do an extended interview that would include video, then we could do a much longer conversation on trader interviews as well. Mm-hmm. And we're always interested. I think we want to have more guests coming into the second half of 2014. And if you're a listener and you've got a story to tell, or you just love the podcast and it would be fun for you to come on the podcast, we would love to talk to you. So there's no problem with that at all. Absolutely. All right.
Now this is an email from Dave, and it's titled "Irritations I Can't Scratch." Okay. So buckle up for this, Rob. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. He says, "Hi, Jason and Rob. A couple of things bugging me. Number one, where is Trifecta 3? If you won't sell to a Welshman, tell me." if it's
Actually,
a
Welshmen
dog,
are at the top of my list of people to sell money-making things to. So,
I love
absolutely.
it. I had it. That reminds. I have a great uncle, or I had a great uncle who used to say to me, like, if anything was like, if he felt anything was odd or unusual about me, he would explain it by saying he's a Dutchman, and I'm like, what? I think Dutchmen are great people. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't even know. Like,
Now he just says, "I'm a podcast listener."
yeah, yeah.
That would explain
Exact-
more.
Exactly. Anyway, it says, if it's a dog's dinner, guaranteed to margin call, tell me. I want this indicator, but it's getting like a toothache. So he sounds pretty excited about that.
Sounds pretty interested in it.
Yeah. So, and then, oh, let me see here. Okay, so from episode 271, the Technology for Traders episode, we got an email from Chris, and he says, do you have any recommendations for good VPS providers? Thanks.
Yeah. Let's. Yes. First and foremost is your broker. Your broker, if you have enough in your trading account, and it's a pretty low threshold, should be able to provide you with a free VPS. And I use VPS. If I can't find this in 1 second, then I will. VPS UK. I will find it. I don't know. I don't have it right here, but yeah, number one is we have one that has been just fantastic. And Jason, I will get a link and put it in the show notes for today's podcast. The link won't arrive for approximately 1 day until the podcast is published. So look for it Thursday if the podcast came out on Wednesday.
Okay. Awesome. That sounds good. And then also in response to that same episode, we got an email from Glenn because remember, Rob, you asked for people to tell us what kind of trading tech they're using.
I was hoping someone wrote about this. Yeah, absolutely.
We actually got tons of feedback on that stuff. But here's one. Glenn said, hi, using an iMac, 2007 vintage, 4 gig RAM, run, think, or swim, TOS native. Have an iPad first edition, an iPhone 4 offline, and a Samsung Galaxy 3. Hate it, but had to try it.
Wow.
When not at my desktop, the only thing I will do mobile is close a trade once in 5 years, just last week. I run VMware and Windows 7 for MT4, have TOS and MT4 running as well as 2 trade rooms at the same time. Sometimes I also have open MT4 on crossover as well and watch Tasty Trade, use email, and possibly stress the 2.4 gigahertz Core 2 Duo a tad. And then, I know, like, I've been, by the way, just side note, I've been so impressed, like, people can rattle off all this technical stuff. I mean, we got so many just like that. It's just filled with stuff that I was nervous about pronouncing.
Are they all emails?
Some of them are emails, some of them are comments. So
I can't wait to see all these. I want to do a show where we just talk about this. Can we come back on the next episode and just read those emails? I am such a technology
okay
geek. I love that stuff.
Awesome. And I'll practice it. And then the rest of his email says, I keep seeing people complain about sound problems, video playback, and such, and say they have the latest and greatest Windows machines. Well, if you're running Windows...
Is that it?
Well, I mean, it was like ellipsis, you know. And he says, when I tried the trade rooms in Windows, I've always had sound issues. Don't think it's the machine as much. It's just Windows. With crossover, some indicators / feeds I won't work. So, sorry, I use won't work. So I need Windows. And then waiting on iPhone 6 to get back to reality, for my iPad to die, for a new one. And if I can afford it, a new iMac in September, October, if this one will hold up long enough. Enjoy the podcast. Keep up the good work, Glenn.
Hey, Glenn, thank you very much. That's fantastic. I think I've determined that I'm either going to go... I'm going to do a new computer in the fall. This one is finally slowing down too far, so I'm going to do a new computer in the fall. This one is finally slowing down too far, so I'm going to do a new computer in the fall. This one is finally slowing down too far, so I'm going to do a new computer in the fall. This one is finally slowing down too far, so I'm going to do a new computer in the fall. This one is finally slowing down too far, so Gonna finally go for it. But anyway, that's really good. I got one, Jason. We can finish off with this one today, and
okay.
I want to continue the mailbag episodes. This is great. This is from Twitter. Dear Rob, please stop recommending trades on the podcast. It's a bit irresponsible. Not to mention your short pound Swiss call is senseless. It's a real tweet. I took a picture of it. The reason I took a picture of it is because I then blocked him on Twitter. He's a loyal listener of the podcast. I know this person. He often says nice things, and he had a bad day. And I got to say, I don't mind negativity. I don't mind constructive criticism. But I think that if you're calling me irresponsible, that's like calling a child immature. We thrive on irresponsibility on the podcast. I have dedicated my professional life to being irresponsible. And number two, I have never taken a good trade in my life that wasn't controversial to a large number of people. So as soon as I got that Twitter message, Jason, I actually added 4 more lots to my pound Swiss short trade, by the way. And
wow. Okay.
It's still hanging out at the same price. And I'm going to go ahead now and say, just for this gentleman, I would love for everybody here to take a look at the euro Japanese yen. Watch for that to rise, if it can even, into the 137s. It's down in the 136.60 area right now. If that can rise into the 137s, and if you know anything about me or about trifecta or about divergence, look for that to go divergent on the 15-minute chart or the 60-minute chart. Bearish divergence. You could use MACD divergence. You could use RSI divergence. Look for that to happen, and then look to sell that currency pair. I just wanted to give another recommendation. I had no intent of doing that, but I just thought, first of all, we never talk shop on the podcast. We don't do enough of it probably. And I bet that there are a lot of people who would like to hear us talk more about how the fundamental elements of the economy tie into the markets. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a large number of people that feel like the podcast doesn't do enough of that. So there's probably a little bit more of that coming down the line.
We get feedback on that, Rob, and we also get feedback where people they like the technical episodes, the ones that, and before we were worried about whether they were boring or not, but people like that technical stuff.
Yeah, I think we actually should have a fairly large number of episodes about how things work behind the scenes, how the economies of the world affect the markets of the world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's interesting to at least a percentage of our listeners that have been loyal to us and are waiting for us to have a more substantive conversation about the markets. I think it would also be interesting to address specific financial instruments. I think we ought to every once in a while have a discussion about Apple or Google or the long-term prospects of Facebook or the technical picture surrounding a particular financial instrument. And if you've got a favorite financial instrument, we're going to get a lot of comments about this. Mm-hmm. Just put it in the show notes for this episode. Just in the show notes, go to traderspodcast.com and just type in the symbols for the instruments that you'd like for us to maybe mention or talk about. It won't be a large conversation, but at least we could look at a chart and just talk about what we think. And then other people who follow the podcast can jump onto that and reply to your comment and have a conversation with you about your favorite financial instrument.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll pull out a Euronaut t-shirt for those folks as well.
Okay. That sounds awesome, Rob. I love it.
I think the Euronaut is destined to be the mascot of the podcast, and I'm hoping that everyone is interested in seeing what that is.
I can't wait to see it. So are we going to have it in the artwork for the show notes for episode 274?
Yeah, 274. There, I will send you a link and an image of the Euronaut.
All right, I'm looking forward to that.
And when we come back on the next episode, we'll do a mailbag episode continual. We'd love to hear from you about just as many of you as you want to just rattle off your financial instruments. We could even do one per podcast. That's fine. And if people hate it, then we'll stop, of course, after we're done doing it because we're irresponsible. And then let us know more about your technology. I am going to switch out the computer in the fall, and I would love to hear from people what they like. And are there any Windows defenders out there? Any defenders of the Windows universe? I would love to hear that.
I bet there are, Rob.
I bet there are. Maybe one or two left. And on really behalf of Jason Piles, the producer, fan of Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Ponytail, the movie, the horror movie about a radio show. Just kidding. Pontypool. I'll check it out. I'm Rob Booker, and you're listening to the Traders Podcast. Well, Jason,
good job.
Thank you.
So is the video stopped here yet? Did you stop the video? Because the one, and I can always, there was one part that I didn't read from that guy who said that things were bugging him.
Yeah. Because
I didn't know if you, because it's easy for me to edit out stuff in audio, but I didn't know if you wanted to deal with it in video, so I just skipped it. But he was asking about sun gas and you associating with sun gas via advertisement.
Oh, yeah. So if you're on my email list, you get two types of emails. You get emails from me that are encouragement and advice for traders, and they're all feel-good emails. And then there's a company that sends me offers that run past me for approval, and then about 4 or 5 times a month they will send an email out, and people have a choice of whether to look at that email or not. And I don't think there's I really haven't had that many complaints about it. In fact, there have been some people that have looked at some of those offers and said, wow, that was really interesting to me, and that I actually liked that. And there's a lot of stuff I don't do, which includes selling a lot of stuff. I don't do that. If there's one, like in that case, that somebody didn't really care for or whatever, I'll certainly take a look at it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I look at them before they go through. Did he say he didn't like it, or he was upset about it, or?
Let's see. He said, I have it right here. Are you sure you want to associate via advertisement with sun gas? This scam is as old as the hills. Invest now in new tech, water plus sun, super gas before Wall Street gets there. Splitting hydrogen from water is indeed the holy grail if you can do it without an adjoining power station. Putting hydrogen in your gas-converted car or heating boiler would result in an extraterrestrial death. So
well, then I'll take it. I'll take it down. That's a good comment. Yeah, that's no problem at all. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad to know that. Okay. That's good feedback. Did you know that that's what would happen?
I had no idea.
Neither did I. I'll plead ignorance on that one and correct my behavior accordingly. All right, man.
All right, Rob.
I am definitely seeing Rise of the Planet of the Apes today sometime. It's going to happen.
I'm really good because it's all about, for me, it's all about the story. I mean, there's some serious tension and suspense.
Is there blood? Is there a lot of blood in it?
No.
So the apes just die?
Yeah, they get blown up. They get shot. You know what I mean?
Isaac?
Like they're...
No thanks.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, no thanks. So, yeah, they get set on fire.
They get set on fire?
Yeah.
I got to see this. All right.
Yeah, they do. But for me, it's honestly like, I like action and everything, but it's all about the tension of these two species trying to have peace. I mean, it's amazing.
All right. Well, on another note like that, Matt has been recommending incessantly that I watch Battlestar Galactica, the entire 75 episodes. Have you ever watched that at all?
No, but I've heard the same.
That it's just amazing.
Friends. Yeah, same thing from my friends. And you got to do the see, there have been a couple of different incarnations of that, right. And I think the one that he was talking about, the 75 episodes, I think that's the one that everybody's nuts about, because there are, I don't even know enough to speak about it, but there was like an earlier version that people thought sucked, and then they came back and did it right.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
It would just have been my luck to find the one that stunk and then ruined my friendship with Matt.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, yes. Man. All right, well, I'll talk to you soon for our next episode.
That sounds good, Rob. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.